you so much for tuning in to A Time of Inspiration. Hello and welcome back to A Time of Inspiration. We are so uber excited to talk to you about the excursions of Andre and Francis Guichard as they traveled and did lots of scuba diving. They're gonna walk you through their journey with master diver Michael Parnell. It is so amazing to hear about their adventures on this scuba diving excursion. So please stay tuned and enjoy this segment. On segment 2, they're gonna talk to you about their amazing adventure and excursion to the Disney World of wellness hotels in Bali, Indonesia, with Russell Simmons, how the lifestyle there and the culture there and the wellness there and the food, vegan food that tastes so good that it doesn't taste like vegan food. So just stay tuned and enjoy this amazing adventure by Francis and Andre Guichard as they traveled in Bali and Indonesia and had an amazing time.
Welcome back to Gallery Guichard virtually. I am Andre Guichard, artist, curator, and co-owner of Gallery Guichard.
And I'm Francis Guichard, artist, curator, and co-owner of Gallery Guichard.
Well, we are very, very excited to have you back with us virtually here for virtual exhibit catalog number 46. Can you believe we're up to 46?
Right?
And this is very special because while some of the previous virtual exhibit catalogs have given you a glimpse of the landscape and the beauty of many of the places in Africa, this latest trip was to Indonesia. And we are excited to share with you really 3 segments of how this trip broke down. One portion was a scuba diving trip with a group of divers from age 16 to 82, most of them African American, and we were all privileged to be taught by Mike Parnell of Magnum Scuba, and also to go on this liveaboard, all arranged by Mike Parnell in Indonesia. And it was simply amazing. The second portion will be a lot about lifestyle and travel and why you should take the time to do something different than staying in your city or your town and being a wanderlust, for the lack of a better word. It is time to adventure. And this was truly an adventure. And this portion, the next portion that we'll talk about, will be about our visit to Bali and our stay at GDAS Hotel, which is a lifestyle hotel, or for lack of a better word, I would say the Disney World of lifestyle retreats. And the last portion will be about how the African diaspora, as we know, is across Africa and has spread across many continents, but we were both surprised to see how the African diaspora spread east. And people in Indonesia had noses like mine, and Fran and I, our color, big lips, and African features for sure. And the art was amazing. And again, you could see the similarities of how those artists create similar to the artists of the African diaspora. So let's dive right in and let's talk about, what did you think about this latest liveaboard trip in Indonesia and what your experiences are as a professional diver trained by Mark Parnell?
Well, you know, for me, this is not our first liveaboard. We've dove in the Red Sea. So, you know, that was an awesome experience. And now here we are talking about Indonesia. And I have to say, it was spectacular. It was phenomenal. It was an experience of a lifetime. And I don't think that you truly can understand it unless you learn how to scuba dive. Knowing, what you don't know is a way of finding out what God has offered us on this planet. And it truly gave me an opportunity to go into a space that most people are not comfortable going, but knowing that because I had the proper training through Mike Parnell, I had the confidence through you and Mike and all the other divers that we dive with, I built that confidence. And knowing that we had, God by our side, there's nothing we can't do. So I felt as though I could embrace my fears and truly dive in a place of beauty that I had never been to before. And I have to say, I was a little apprehensive at first. I was a little nervous because I always think about anytime I travel, I always think, oh, I'm so far away from home. I'm so far away from the family. How do I truly enjoy myself? Once I get there, I am just like total a kid and just ready to go. But with that said, I do understand the importance of making sure you pay attention to every detail, making sure you understand all the things that Mike had taught me. I was ready to use that in the practical sense and dive, baby dive.
Yes, I agree with everything you said. And I think part of why I was so excited was because Mike was excited. And he was excited because for him, diving in Indonesia had been a 20-year dream fulfilled. And because Wakatoi and Komodo Islands are maybe two of the top dive spots in the world, particularly because the amount of coral, living coral, that was available to us, it felt untouched. And because of global warming, so many of the famous dive spots have experienced bleaching, where the coral has died and it's all white. This was a pristine environment. We had never seen sharks before. I think we saw 6 sharks. And being up close and personal to sharks over 9 feet and not being afraid because they really didn't care about us. And then also the experience of the Gaia-Love, which was the yacht that we lived on for 12 plus days. It was a pristine, contemporary, modern boat with a staff that took care of your every need. The meals were exquisite, and it really made the diving less fearful because you always had someone putting your dive gear together for you, taking your dive gear off. When you came out of the water, they would greet you with hot tea, and it was just such an experience. But most importantly, the dive masters on the boat were there to make sure and train you additionally. And I'm really happy to say we both achieved personal records of staying underwater for an hour at 60 feet, which if you think about you're 60 feet underwater for an hour at a time, it was just amazing. And the coral was magnificent, the fish were magnificent, so much so I'm inspired to create new work that was inspired by the dive. What would you say was your favorite location that we dived at?
I have to say, we dove at some really interesting places. We did a muck dive. Remember the muck dive?
Yes.
The muck dive was really muck, but in the muck dive there were living organisms. And what a muck dive is basically a sandy bottom that looks like nothing's there. But when you look closer, you'll see something move or skirt around and something coming up out of the sand. And just so many amazing things. I know people saw shrimp. I didn't see any shrimp myself, probably because I was trying to make sure I was practicing my buoyancy. So I missed some things, but as I learned how to control my buoyancy, I was able to see some amazing fish. So I did enjoy the muck dive, considering that, you know, it really isn't like real beautiful. But I also love the coral in, and I forget the location we were at. It was somewhere near Wakatoi.
Yes.
And it was just beautiful. And the sponges, just amazing.
I think I also loved Wakatoi, and particularly because before this trip, we had never encountered sharks. And this experience of seeing a black-tip shark come out of the deep and slowly come near you, but yet just be curious about you, not interested in you as a meal. And then watching it slowly move away. I mean, even underwater, we were doing high fives because it was so beautiful. But nobody can tell you more or encourage you more than Mike Parnell. And I'm so happy that he's here to talk about Magnum Scuba and how anyone from 16 to 82 can engage and be a part of this amazing experience of open water diving.
Yes, thank you, Mike. I'm just waiting, can't wait to hear what you have to say.
There was a period when I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I went to work for the airlines. I worked for Eastern Airlines on the ramp while I was waiting for another position to open someplace else. And during that time, God showed me an avenue. He showed me diving schools all throughout the Caribbean, people that looked like me. And I was able to get to those schools by working for the airlines. We were able to fly for what, $12 first class, $6 coach, any place in the system. So I took advantage of those opportunities. And I started going to these places, taking these courses and so forth. And one thing led to another. I was just having a great time learning to dive. I had no idea it would ever get to the position where I am now, but it was just fun, the adventures that was going on. One thing led to another. That 1 year that I was only supposed to work for the airlines while I was waiting for another position ended up being 12 years. And all I did was travel and learn diving. I was getting credentials under my belt in one area and then another. And at the end of 12 years, Eastern went out of business.
Wow.
And I said, wow. So the Holy Spirit told me, look at your credentials, son. So I looked at I said, oh my goodness. Now what to do? We teach you how to snorkel, how to use fins, how to breathe on the surface with a snorkel in your mouth, propel yourself. Then we put a tank on your back. We learn all the physics and the physiology about it, how it all works and how it works with your body, you see. Then it's a step progression. You get more and more relaxed each time you go into the pool. There's a lot of lecture as well. We have lectures, about 12 hours worth of lectures, yeah. So you learn all the theory behind how everything works, how your body works in the water. Then you overcome that fear. That fear dissipates. Now you can dive. We'll take that from the pool into an open water environment where you have some motion in the water, you've got some fish, things of that nature. Then one thing leads to another and another, and you get more and more comfortable. Boom. We go to the Maldives. We were in the Maldives last October. Then we went from the Maldives to Dubai. We dove the world's deepest pool in Dubai. It's a man-made facility. It's actually a city underwater. Yeah, it's 200 feet deep. And every section is a different neighborhood. So you go into these buildings and you interact with whatever goes on in that building. I mean, there's motorcycles sitting outside the building. There's sports cars and things of that nature. It's beautiful. So we did that. We did Indonesia just a few weeks ago. We're getting ready to do the Philippines. We're going to go back to Bonaire actually in 2 weeks. Yeah. And
Egypt?
Yeah, we did Egypt. We did Egypt twice, back to back. Actually, we did southern Egypt 1 year and then went back and did northern Egypt. Egypt, and the Nile River and so forth, and Palau. Yeah, Palau and Yap in Micronesia. So we do quite a bit.
While we enjoyed the liveaboard and living on a yacht and being taken further and further into open water, I must admit the land excursions were often just as much fun and exciting. And I think we have to start first with Komodo Island and the Komodo dragons. Weren't those amazing?
They were amazing. And I just have to say, you know, after diving and being on the boat in open water, flipping back from the boat into the ocean, being on the liveaboard and feeling the waves, now we get off and go onto land and we go to Komodo Island. Komodo Island is like literally like Disney World. It's like, but in reality, you've got these amazing large dragons that are with the scales on them, and they're just sitting there resting and getting chilled by the shade because it's very, very hot there. And they're dangerous animals.
Yes.
So I was thinking like, oh my goodness, what happens if one charges us? But they're not, just like a safari, they're not thinking about us.
Well,
or, you know, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed being there.
They all had these special sticks that they use that they can grab the Komodo by its neck. But the Komodo has a very interesting way how it attacks its prey. All it takes is for it to bite you one time. And that one bite, their saliva will actually give you sepsis. And we all know sepsis is a serious infection that after biting you one time, and there were several prey that I would call on the island, zebra and large buffalo and pigs, but all it does is bite you once, and then it follows you for 4 to 5 days until you're paralyzed and sick, and it eats you whole. So understanding the gravity of this dangerous animal, being as close as 5 feet away was pretty daunting, I must admit.
Yeah, we saw the large male who had a belly full, and he was moving a little lethargic because he had just eaten, and we were able to take pictures behind him, of course, as you said, with that guide with that long stick, just in case he got, you know, wanted dessert. But we were all good. It was so much fun to be able to walk and then to be able to climb up at the Komodo Island. They had like a little mountain that we were able to climb. After being on the boat, we were able to get some exercise and move about and see the ocean and the liveaboard out there. That was just so much fun.
Breathtaking. And then, of course, Bat Bay, which I thought was interesting, how there was a specific area where I would say thousands of bats slept during the day, and the guides took us all on dinghies, and there were 4 dinghies, and they drove us over to Bat Bay. And when I tell you that movie The Birds, where all the birds are flying, the Alfred Hitchcock, it felt just like that. These bats were zooming over your head, and the wingspans had to be 2 feet, 3 feet. And it was amazing, but they moved from one portion of Bat Bay to another. And it's interesting, as you'll see in the video, just how beautiful and the spectacle of them moving around was. Because
thousands of them.
Thousands and thousands of bats.
It was sort of insidious, because when we first got there, we didn't know what to expect. They didn't tell us anything. They said we were just going to go on an excursion. And as we went, it was real quiet. And then they said, look in the trees. And we saw the bats, like thousands of them hanging upside down. And then all of a sudden, as we got closer, we started talking. They just went crazy and started flying all around.
Over your head and all.
But they're fruit bats.
Fruit bats. Well, they look like vampire bats to me.
They're fruit bats. They don't eat people. They don't bite you. They eat fruit.
Yes.
So.
And then, last but not least, was Bali, and we had never visited Bali, and it is a metropolis and go-to place, but our experience, I thought, was quite magnificent because we had the privilege to stay at GDAS Hotel, which is a hotel owned by Russell Simmons, and I would call it the Disney World of wellness hotels. It was simply incredible. All vegetarian, no alcohol, and the health suite had to have at least 7 treatment rooms that you can indulge in all types of relaxing sauna, wet sauna, infrared steam room, cryotherapy. I mean, there were so many treatments that would fulfill your body in addition to the yoga, hot yoga. What would you say was one of your best experiences at GDAS?
Well, everything was just awesome. There's nothing I would say that was better than the other because everything was top of the line. And, you had the hot and cold dipping pools, you had the infrared sauna, the hot sauna, you had the massages, and you could get, spa services, the steam room, they had the, like you said, the cryotherapy, but the food also was amazing. Yes. It did not taste like, typical vegan food. Like, it had flavor, and if you thought you were eating something like meat, it looked and tasted like you were eating meat, but all the flavors were just so great together. Whether it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the food was amazing.
Phenomenal. And like you said, they actually had just opened a new restaurant, and they had what was the equivalent of our 15-year age, steaks. And I mean, it was just phenomenal. And it was also international. People from all over were there. Russia, I mean, multicultural, and just an experience that I would say was kind of once of a lifetime. And
I was talking to the guy who was in the infrared sauna. We were talking, had long conversation. He was from Australia, which is only 5 hours away from Bali.
And last but not least, we had the experience of staying in the Snoop Dogg suite, which I'm telling you, Snoop Dogg really gets it in, because this was just 2-bedroom with your own pool and swinging couches.
And the bathtub outside with the foliage and the lemons and the flowers in it. Oh, it was just beautiful.
2 outdoor baths that, when I tell you, you wouldn't, I saw that and I said, I could just stay in the bathtub the whole 5 days. I don't need to do nothing else. But it was just so much and such an experience. And last but not least, Russell teaching the hot yoga. I felt like a waterfall was falling off my body as we were doing it. It was just an exhilarating
And meditation.
And the meditation.
And you're in the jungle, so you get the sounds of the jungle, all the animals and the birds and the insects. It's just really amazing to be there. I mean, I felt so relaxed after I left that, resort.
I agree. It was a total wellness experience. I mean, mind, body, and soul. But I must say, I was pleasantly surprised, because as much as we've traveled to the continent 14 times, 11 countries, while we know the African diaspora spread around the whole world, we had never been to the East. And seeing and experiencing Indonesia, but for the first time encountering Indonesian people who had noses just like mine, full lips, our skin color, they were clearly part of the African diaspora.
And the people were so amazing. They are so chill, so friendly, so welcoming. It was just, you felt, like you were connected to them, that personal relationship. We had so many wonderful people who helped us around, including our driver. He was just awesome. Just took time, was able to make sure we understood what we were seeing and where we were going. I just truly enjoyed that.
I did too. And then learning the history of the Indonesian people and them, they gained their freedom because they were colonized by the Japanese. And it wasn't until Hiroshima that they actually gained their freedom. So because they are darker people, it was interesting how even in that region of the world, how while race is, it's something we've made up, they also experienced strange circumstances, particularly colonialism by the Japanese that wasn't lifted until the Hiroshima bomb. So that was also interesting to learn the history. But most importantly, while we've seen traveling across the continent how the way African people approach color and deal with art, we also found that with Indonesian artists. I just thought that was also amazing.
I love shopping, going shopping and seeing the art and the art galleries and the spaces with the meeting artists. It was just awesome. So I was so happy to be able to bring back some of those beautiful pieces to the gallery.
Yes, speaking of, the landscape directly behind us really depicts in a contemporary way how the continent really felt as it relates to Indonesia, because a lot of people think of Indonesia as one island, Bali, but really Indonesia is a series of islands, wider.
An archipelago.
It's about, we're correct, wider than the United States. And if you really look at that painting behind us, the emerging of land masses because of volcanoes, and then in the backdrop, you might have a sea city or a seaport. But that beauty coupled with the clear blue waters and the different levels of blue and that sense of always being in open water was really what Indonesia was.
Right, and the weather's consistent all year long. I love that. I love it warm. And it does rain there, so, you know, fortunately we didn't really have a lot of rain, but, you know, there is a monsoon season, but we were very fortunate to have clear skies most of our visit.
Yes.
Yes.
But I also will end with the art was amazing, and the talent that you often see in what is otherwise thought as a third world country. Sometimes that pressure of a lot of people together or the struggle comes out in expression. And I think that's what we saw, and with just amazing art, beautiful fingerprints that are different from what we see in some of the other places we've been, but then similar in how we use color. And then also the expression of African culture. I thought that was really surprising to see, you know, African villages painted, or the similarities of the Mardi Gras and the second line and that traditional painting of their line with the umbrellas. It felt very similar to the second line parade or parades we've seen in Cuba.
And the rice paddies. I love seeing the paintings of them working in the rice paddies and how they use texture in their artwork as well. It was just really beautiful. My niece told me all about the swing over the rice paddies, and we got a chance to do that. It was so much fun.
It was amazing. And you can't mention the swing without mentioning the purification pools, because the blessings are pouring over, and you do a whole ritual and you ask for what you want. And I swear everything I've asked for since I've been back has come true. So it is truly an amazing experience. Once again, we are so happy to be able to share with you our travels, and it wouldn't be but for a time of inspiration to be able to expand our platform so that we can all open our minds to taking a chance and leaving your comfortable space of your neighborhood and your home and becoming a wanderlust and seeing the world for yourself. So thank you for allowing us to share our journey, and we'll see you next time at Gallery Guichard.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for being an inspiration.
What an amazing time. I would like to thank Andre and Francis Guichard for sharing with us such an amazing time and adventure. And you can check them out and all of the things that they shared with you on their website, Gallery Guichard, www.galleryguichard.com. And check out Catalog 46 at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Time of Inspiration.